Hello and welcome to the Alberta Mentoring Partnership webinar discussing teen mentoring in schools. Thank you for joining us today. Next, I would like to acknowledge the land that we are on. Oops. Spanning generations, acknowledgement of the land is a traditional custom of Indigenous people when welcoming outsiders onto their land and into their homes. To build respectful relationships, acknowledging the land is an important part of reconciliation. In the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth, we acknowledge we are on and supporting mentoring for youth in the traditional territories across Alberta of the many First Nations from Treaty 6, 7, and 8, the Métis of the 8 Alberta settlements, and Inuit people whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. These lands are the traditional meeting grounds and homes for many Indigenous peoples for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We are all treaty people, beneficiaries of the peace and prosperity the treaties brought, and committed also to working towards the equity and justice the treaties promised. Before we start, I'll give just a little introduction to AMP and who we are. For the audience, please let us know where you're from in the chat. So my name is Pamela Mellon. My pronouns are she, her. I was born and raised in Treaty 8 in Fort McMurray, and I now have the privilege of living and working and playing in Treaty 6 territory, Edmonton. I lead mentoring in schools at the Alberta Mentoring Partnership, and I'll be your host and moderator for today's webinar. I'm also joined today by my colleagues, Quentin Hilton and Courtney Cox. Quentin is our communications and technology administrator. He is our tech support for today. So if you have any concerns or tech questions at any point, feel free to message Quentin in the chat. And Courtney is our project coordinator for MIAC, Mentoring Youth and Young Adults in Care. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with the Alberta Mentoring Partnership, we are a network of community mentoring agencies, government, and youth working together to raise the profile of mentoring in Alberta. We exist to help schools and mentoring agencies meet the needs of the youth and young adults that they serve. AMP supports the development of healthy, engaged citizens and can help support your organization or school in strengthening your mentoring program offerings. Our mission is working together to strengthen Alberta's capacity to support and enhance mentoring. And our vision is for young people to thrive through mentoring relationships. We also have free resources and training opportunities on our website. So feel free to check out our Knowledge Hub at albertamentors.ca. I see some things in the chat. Eric is joining from Edmonton, and Kim is joining from Treaty 8, Slave Lake area. And then I have some great introductions for our guests today who are going to share with us about mentoring in their schools. And that's coming up next. So on today's webinar, we are so fortunate to have Cindy Goodfellow, Daisy Smallboy, and Diane Gardipy joining us as guest speakers from Red Deer Catholic Regional Schools. Cindy Goodfellow, a family school counselor at St. Dominic High School in Rocky Mountain House, traces her roots to Vegreville, Alberta. Cindy is a registered social worker. Her focus has consistently revolved around the intricate dynamics of Indigenous communities, shaping her into a compassionate and informed advocate. As a social worker, Cindy's commitment to understanding and addressing the unique challenges faced by Indigenous populations has been evident throughout her educational endeavors. Now, as the family school counselor at St. Dominic High School, Cindy is committed to creating an inclusive and culturally aware environment that reflects her commitment to fostering the well-being and success of Indigenous students. Next, we have Daisy Smallboy. She is a proud member of Treaty 6 and the Cree First Nations and resides in Sunchild First Nations. At 17 years old, Daisy is a happy and determined woman who believes that she can achieve anything she sets her mind to. With a zest for life, Daisy finds joy in pursuing her passions and embracing new experiences. Daisy enjoys volleyball, music, traveling, dancing, and spending time with friends and family. Daisy is passionate about being an active mentor in her school with Indigenous students and within her community. Her mission is to promote awareness and education about our rich Indigenous culture among students from all backgrounds. Daisy has been an active member in our school, focusing on bridging gaps in knowledge while promoting inclusivity and equality. And last but not least, we have Diane Gardipy, and she is Plains Cree from the Beardy and Okamasis First Nation in Treaty 6 territory and the Indigenous Education Consultant for the Indigenous Education Services Team for Red Deer Catholic Regional Schools. Prior to becoming an educator, Diane worked as a cultural family educator, facilitating traditional parenting programs. Diane models strong community mindedness through a wide variety of volunteer commitments in the city. And Diane currently serves on the Red Deer Indigenous Dance Troupe Society and the Red Feather Women's Social Justice Group. Cindy and Daisy will speak to mentoring at St. Dominic High School, and afterwards, Diane will share mentoring opportunities in the broader Red Deer Catholic Regional Schools. There will be questions and answers at the end of the session, so if you have any questions, feel free to place them in the chat, and we'll address them during the question and answer session. So thank you for joining us today, and I'll pass it over to Cindy and Daisy. Okay, I'll stop sharing as well.
Thank you for introducing us. So at St. Dominic High School, kind of how I wanted to support the students is really walking beside them. And so I connected with students of what they would like to see in the school, and I kind of do like the behind the scenes. And so a lot of the mentorship, so we do lunches. So a lot of those aspects are, again, what they would like to see. Some students have mentioned they wanted to make ribbon skirts. So we have now just got them. So we'll be doing that in the new year. And then we'll have an elder come in with us and show us how to do that properly, and the knowledge behind it and a lot of those things. So a lot of our mentorship is peer student support. So depending on where the students are in their journey within their culture, it really depends on where they are. But that's where a lot of people like Daisy come in, and she has a lot of those pieces. And being a young student, she does have that connection with students, so she can connect with them, talk to them, and really just build them up to where they are and just have that open space for where they would like to be. If that's something they have questions on, that's where Daisy is super awesome of not only educating the students, but I can say with myself too. So it's very nice to have Daisy. But one thing I really stress is I never want to say, hey, I have this idea, let's do it. It's what would you guys like to see and how can I support you in that moment? And so I'll pass it off to Daisy now.
Oh, okay. Sorry, it's been a while since I have answered a couple of questions, but yes, as Ms. Goodfellow has said, I have been in contact with the students of what they would like around the school, what they would like to see more, um, what are they concerned with, what are they comfortable with, what are they not comfortable with, and I think one mission I wanted to do was actually be able to create like a class or some sort of like education in the school I'm at. So that way, like people who do not know like what their behind their past or what their culture is, or they are unfamiliar with the language, I would actually like to have a class where they could learn it. But the only problem is that we need like a certain amount. But I think that's like a project I'm planning on saving later if I'm still here, of course. um, but I do plan to do a event in May actually, and as Miss Goodfellow has said, she has done the background, kind of the backstage stuff. She gets in contact of like sponsors. She gets in contact with schools. She contacts West Central, and she's just our backbone. And without her, we wouldn't be able to do it without her and the team. So I'm very grateful for that, and yeah.
Why don't you explain the event that you're planning to do?
Oh, yes, the event. I will not forget about the event. So, it was going to be in May 5th. No, 10th, was it?
It's May 10th now. It was going to be May 5th.
Yeah,
First.
so our plan is actually to have a huge event to combine both of our schools together to have a performance of like a powwow. We will have like dancers from Sunchild, Bighorn, and other dancers that are wanting to come and perform. We do plan to do it in the morning and in the afternoon, and we are also planning on having a barbecue as well. Um, and how much were we gonna cost? We were gonna cost amount of burgers, and how much was it? Our budget?
Oh, I'm not sure.
I think it was like around $5, something like that. And we'll also have Métis come in, and if they want to do their jig, they can do their jig. And we'll also have elders come in as well and say, all right, this is what they're dancing. This is traditional. This is contemporary. And overall, it's just a big event we are planning before, you know, diplomas, finals come, and yeah, I'm pretty much looking forward to it.
If I can just touch base on some of the things too, that like with this, another idea for her of this whole big event aspect of it is also to educate other youth. So we're having other schools come in to our school to really experience this. Some have never experienced it, and especially some Indigenous students have never experienced it themselves. And so kind of what that looks like and how we can be that new change and just really show what these and different dances are, because I like we'll have different sections, and so there's going to be fancy, there's going to be traditional, there's going to be jingle, there's going to be men's grassy, men's chicken. I'm trying to
Grass, chicken, yes, you're doing good. There's hoop dancing as well.
Yeah.
And there's the jig, of course, from Métis.
Yeah.
And let's see, jingle, fancy, and I'm pretty sure that is.
And then the tiny tots. And so just kind of showing all that to a lot of people who may have never experienced it, but also bringing it to the community and to our students, and just really touch base on that really knowledge piece.
Great to hear about the event coming up in May, and it's kind of like group mentoring. Daisy, you're taking the lead on organizing it with the help of Cindy. Is anyone else helping you organize the event?
Oh, yeah.
So Diane, that's in here, she's
Awesome.
so our Indigenous team within our board has been in contact and been working alongside us with that. And then just reaching out to community members. So the schools, our school is connected to a public high school. And so with their Indigenous team there, so just really branching out, talking to the stakeholders, connecting with the community. And we have Shannon Ma, who's with McMahon, who's a cultural worker. So she's been a great connection. So there's been many connection pieces in the community and within our board.
It's an exciting event coming up. I'm curious about mentoring in the school right now. Is it just within St. Dominic, or do the high school students mentoring each other? Do you connect with other schools? What does it look like?
Right now, so we have it with our cultural lunch, is a lot of the pieces of mentoring within our school. That's something that we've been talking about, connecting with our elementary school in Rocky Mountain House, and connecting with their students who are Indigenous, supporting them, so we can really bridge that gap between middle school and high school. And that connection piece, so they may see some students here, they might graduate like Daisy is this year.
Yep.
They won't see down the road later, but it's really that piece of like, oh, hey, I seen you before. I remember like you supported me. I felt heard by you. Those little pieces where we can really make those connections. And then also another piece that we were chatting with Shannon is that she's having a library kind of group aspect with community members in Rocky Mountain House who are Indigenous, and connecting with her and having that support also for younger youth.
I love that bit about I've met you before, I felt supported by you before. It's that informal mentoring that just having seen Daisy at the summit and feeling your energy here, I bet there's a bunch of students who could say something along those lines.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have any other thoughts on what you'd like to share about kind of what's happening about in mentoring at your school? What are some success stories, or kind of how did you get where you're at with mentoring?
Of course, I'm not gonna lie and say I haven't failed here and there. I have failed plenty of times. I have to say the first success story I ever had was back in 2021 or 2020 when COVID was just about to be lifted, and we had that mini round dance back I was in grade 10, and I was able to put it on put it on for the school. Yet we weren't allowed to be in the gym. We had to go outside, and we couldn't hold hands. We couldn't do it. Couldn't sorry, excuse me. We could not do it the traditional way. But so that was a success, even though it was kind of a little bit of a last minute thing. But once we were able to pull through and everyone, was familiar, a lot of people showed up, nobody skipped. And I was like, okay, cool. I would actually like to do something bigger for like, next for like the summer or maybe next year. And I was planning on doing, the event I am planning now. It was actually a fail back then because what you call again? I only had Miss Tegan, from the public school, so helping me with the dancers, and the principal helping me as well. We could not get much dancers, and I tried to pull in the friendship center, but they also couldn't get dancers. So it was a crash and burn type of situation. So I didn't think I was going to be putting it on again. We only saw the march last year when I was in grade 11. And I'm like, okay, I really want to do something. But that is when I met this lady here. I'm happy I can be able to put it into place. So just because I feel that I really wanted to do something bigger again to have everyone, recognize Indigenous culture for not being, entitlement or anything. We just want to show that, like, we want to work with you, we hope to grow with you. And so that's what the event we are planning is going to be made for. And it also hopefully will encourage other Indigenous students to, embrace their culture a little bit more or be willing to learn. Um, and that's where my job comes into being a mentor. I also like it when my friends who are non-indigenous ask me questions like, am I allowed to do this? What can I do? Not like, what can I can't do? So I'm more than happy to answer their questions. And for indigenous students, like I said earlier plenty of times, I ask them what would they like to see. And yeah, I think that's how I got into mentoring. I guess it was back in grade 10, like when I told the story. So yeah, I think that's.
And one piece that I think would be really good to highlight here is, yes, Daisy's putting this event on in May, but she actually put an event on in September for Truth and Reconciliation Day. And so she did a huge mentoring there. So her vision was a round dance within our school. She had a group of friends. They wanted to make bannock for the whole school. And so that was over 200 pieces that they've done together. So she really facilitated that, supported that, got things into place, but also in the round dance, she also educated students, and people came up to her after and had conversations with her. So it really was that mentor piece of, hey, I've experienced this, you might have not, but here's opening the door for these conversations.
um, Having attended Roundhouse and Powwow, that friendly and welcoming energy definitely helps with the learning and like being curious. So I can only imagine like how much you would have helped people feel more open to ask questions and like and learn. And there's a bunch of different dancing, and I can't wait to learn more myself. I took one lesson and it was so much fun. So much fun. Um, so we were talking about some success stories, and there has been some events that were harder to make happen. I can imagine the COVID context definitely was like hard to bring in some partners at times. Um, but when I think about you're graduating this year, is there other students that may help continue these kind of events when you're not there?
Oh yeah, we have thought about it. We are, well, I've been kind of viewing a little bit and see who would be willing to, put in their time and effort to come help mentor the, the coming generations. I would actually like for the events I have done this year to be put on for, generations to come. It's a little bit difficult and a little bit tricky to find someone who actually wants to, spend their time and sacrifice their time being, a mentor. It's a lot of work, I can guarantee, but I have some ideas of students and friends who might would like to come in. It doesn't have to be like they don't have to be indigenous. They could be indigenous, Métis, whatever you want to name. An ally, yeah. And so they are willing to help. I also would like them to have a group of friends so they would support each other and then they would get more support. Um, but it's a bit, like I said, it's a bit difficult, but I have some friends in mind. And yeah.
And that's something that in my role I'll continuously have an open door to. And so it depends on kind of where they are and what they are comfortable with is like definitely the first thing. I've been so blessed that I have somebody like Daisy who loves to take lead and who really loves to take that educational piece. So I'm very, very blessed. Like even in our lunches, she will go around and show everyone who maybe have not experienced how to smudge. She does the prayer. So I'm very blessed to have that. But I think keeping the door open to what that looks like for future students is something that is I will definitely do going forward, and kind of seeing again, I walk alongside students, so if they're not fully there, that's completely okay, and maybe we can get there with time. But as of right now, just really supporting that student or students where they are in their journey, and it'll be nice because Daisy said she'll come and visit sometimes and come to our meetings, so it'll be nice just to have that piece too.
For sure.
You were mentioning a bit about partnerships with the community. How did that go? Will those partners exist when Daisy has graduated?
Yes. So when I started my role in May, I do not live in Rocky. So my biggest piece is I want to connect with the community, what they have to offer in the community, really touch base and make that relationship connection. And so one of the connection pieces she's been amazing is Shannon Mao. And so I'm going to say she's going to be in my life forever because that'd be amazing. She's been a really good source of connection in the community, connecting with elders, really not only Daisy giving me those little pieces of education, but she also does the same. So it'll be nice because I think that I'm going to, fingers crossed, she'll always be around. But just really reaching out to people is the biggest and the first step. And then kind of going from there.
Yeah, I'm stuck to you. I'm sorry. You're not going anywhere. I'm staying. I'm stuck like a sore thumb. So, which is a good thing, of course, of course. But yes, I do agree. I really do hope that we will have more involvement in the community. I actually was thinking about like an idea with the other schools outside, like reservations like Sunchild, Ochis, Taotha, kind of building connections with each other. So that way, if we do plan to do other sorts of events, we can have, those connections and those elders come in, those drummers come in, students who are willing to come and perform and educate. I'm still learning myself, so I'm not really going to say I know it all, but I would really like for more involvement in the community and for more years to come, and hopefully it will expand more. So, yeah.
For a school or community that hasn't done what you're doing, where do you think they should start?
Connect with your stakeholders. Firstly, connect with any agency that you can and reach out. If you are in a school, connect with your Indigenous team if you have an Indigenous team. They've been a great support to us. They are helping us navigate a lot of things. And then if I am unable to find that in my community, that's a really good connection piece because a lot of times they do have those connections already. But if you're new in the community or you haven't really dived into this, is really connect with a bunch of agencies you can. A lot of the time you meet an agency and they go, oh, I know this person. And then that's really how you get things going. So first thing I would say, connect with your stakeholders and talk to your students, see what they really want to see. There's going to be a lot of students who do want to see more, but are unsure of how to navigate that, what that looks like, if it's feasible. So just really having that open door to conversation and what that looks like, I would say shoot for the stars and then you go from there.
When you think about the May event, like how big's the population? How is it the school population? I would love a bit more of a visual of what you're imagining.
I'm not sure how big, like the population of Rocky, but as of right now, so we'll have our two high schools, then we will have our two elementary schools in it, and then Pioneers Middle School,
Mm-hmm.
the middle school also, And then, as Daisy's mentioned, she wants to have dancers from Sunchild, Bighorn,
Oh, jeez.
Ochise. And so, as a population, that would be definitely hard to say exactly what that would look like. But just within our community and with the two elementary schools, I think like the morning would be, if everyone was able to attend, about, I'd say 500 to 800 students. And then in the afternoon with our school and the high school combined, I'd say about the same. And then depending on who else would be involved, like our Indigenous team is coming out. So a bunch of those agency pieces will be coming out too. So Shannon. And so it's hard to definitely say like what that looks like, but that's kind of a rough idea of what we're kind of looking at.
Um, I love the goal of like the big reach, and then if a little bit less comes, it'll be a great event. But love that it's, you're welcoming so many schools. That's 5 different schools, and just helping spread Indigenous culture, and that appreciation of the dancing is gorgeous as well. And just I love the drum and feeling the heartbeat of the drum. Hmm.
The drum beat represents Mother Earth's heartbeat, so that's pretty what it said that when a mother is pregnant with a child and the heartbeat and the child has its first kicks, it is said to be their first dance moves or along the words or something like that. So it's like a feeling, you feel comfort hearing, this music. And it's personally my comfort, honestly. It reminds me of home back when I was a kid. So I do enjoy the drum as well. My dad also was a singer, so I heard it often. And I remember practicing here and there with my brother and my little sisters. I have two little sisters that actually like to dance, and my little brother also likes to sing as well. So I enjoy it. It's a comfort to me. Um, but it can take a lot out of you energy wise. Round dances, I have to like shuffle and all that stuff, and oh my goodness, my legs get tired at the end of it, but it is worth it, and it's a good way to bring family together is what I mean. So it's a way to build good connections, and that's yeah. So that's pretty much what I have to say.
Daisy, you mentioned that it takes time and energy to plan these events and mentor your peers. What kind of keeps bringing you back to putting the time and energy into it? What? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I guess it's a lot to. Well, I guess it's like a mentality or an idea I had growing up, because growing up, I actually used to go to a public school, and I did not see much of Indigenous cultures being represented. The only time I've ever seen it was back in social or social class, and it was only like for one unit. And I'm thinking, well, why can't we like have more of like a teaching on it? Why can't everyone else know what's going on? Why can't we like talk about who was on the land, what they spoke, who they made trades with, and a lot of history background of Indigenous culture. I did not understand why they didn't like focus more of their time on. And sometimes when I was, watching the TV board or on the bus ride home, I would like imagine myself kind of performing and showing off my culture in a way, in a positive way, actually. And I guess that just stuck with me a lot for years to come. And I'm like, okay, I want to put this into like show. And, you're a little kid, you daydream a lot, and you would like for something to happen. And I'm like, thinking, well, how am I gonna put this to play? Like, I would like to do this, and bring what brings me back is knowing that I would be hopefully doing good for the school and for generations to come, and yeah, and I would love everyone to be educated, and mhm, so yeah.
And Daisy's had a lot of where some Indigenous students don't have any pieces of growing up. So Daisy has been blessed. I hear a lot of the stories that her dad tells her and her cookum. And so she has been raised with a lot of her knowledge, which is really awesome, not only for the school, but the community. It's really good to see that. So I think that's a huge piece for Daisy, is that that's something that she constantly grew up with, which I think has also just helped. This is who she is. She is like a go-getter for sure. But I think that definitely has given her the little pieces and the little knowledge to get to where she is.
And I'm not gonna say I know everything. I'm still iffy on parts here and there. Like I still mess up, of course. I still forget to not blow to forget to like not blow at the match when I light. Sage. I forget my words here and there. I used to hear my grandma speak a lot of my original tongue, but I personally have been too focused on other sorts of things. So needless to say, I could use some learning too. And that's another thing I want to go get is bringing able to bring culture into language to show that we have our own language as well and it's commonly speaked and everyone's like, okay, yes, I know what that is. I know what you're speaking now. And I'm that's pretty much what I want.
Before Daisy has to run away, I wanted to open up questions to anyone else who may have questions for Daisy and Cindy, and then we'll move on to Diane and looking at the bigger district. Does anyone have any questions for Daisy and Cindy?
How are you, so awesome?
How are you, Austin?
I have a question. Daisy, I love your enthusiasm, and
Thank you.
it's just really it's contagious. And what I'm wondering is, in order to get others like from your getting involved in the projects, what initially drew you in, and how can we learn from that to draw other youth in to be contributing to the community like you have?
Noticing the beauty of what you are learning or viewing, or noticing how it is extraordinary. You don't see it very often, and I want to learn this. So this the way they put it out, energetically, like you said. I give off like a
An aura.
an aura, yes. So when I see something new or something I have not seen often, I'm drawn to that aura and I would like to know more about it. So when I'm especially out of my comfort zone a lot, but I hopefully my positivity can like reflect on others so that way they would be more interested in learning. They'd be willing to like, learn more. Maybe who knows, they could teach it to their family members and
I
let's
think I think if I can cut it in just a focus for a little highlight of it is a lot of the times is having that open heart of where students or other individuals are in their journey, and that's what Daisy does. Is that just having conversations with students that really I think starts the initial, and that's a lot of what Daisy does. Is have conversations, listen to their knowledge of what they grew up with, what stories they've heard, so that's a lot of what Daisy does is really just have that open heart and conversation with students and kind of see where they are on their journey. If they're willing to tell her about their stories and kind of go from there. But that's a lot of what I see in the school with Daisy.
Thank you. But I love the combination of positivity and curiosity. I think putting those two together is a really, really dynamite combination.
Absolutely.
thank you. Thank you.
I have a question for Daisy.
Yeah.
What are your like longer term goals? I feel like you have a bright future and lots of
I don't know if you have 5 hours.
Hey, okay, I'll cut it short by an hour. I'm kidding. um, well, I would actually. Oh, I'm sorry. I had a conversation about this with my friend. So I'll try and shorten it a bit. I actually just like I said you had mentioned before, I would like to show equality and show, more of a perspective of indigenous culture. And then we would like to work with you. That is my long-term goal. And I would actually like for events like round dances, mini power up performance to be coming for generations to come in the high school. So that way it again brings the community together. As for future wise, I curriculum. Oh yes, I'm so sorry. The curriculum. I would actually really like for a more of a explaining on indigenous culture, what their side of the story looked like in history textbooks, social studies, um, bringing more awareness to what indigenous people have done and what they have gone through. A lot of things are not really explained as proper or up to date, so I would like a change in those. Also I would like more what's the word again? It's, coming together and
Cohesion.
cohesion. Yes, that fancy word with other schools. So that way they will all be willing to work together. And I would actually like for my children down the path to not be afraid of who they are and what bloodline they come from. I would actually like them to be like, oh my gosh, I'm Indigenous. I love being Indigenous. I'm like everyone else. And I hope to learn from you and you learn from me. And that is what I look forward to. And hopefully, any Indigenous or Métis Inuit student or um, child, parent, etc., is struggling of what their identity is, I would actually like them to not be ashamed of who they are, where they come from, who is their family member, who they relate to who. It that comes down to them as a person and individual, knowing that they are just important and they are just as special as everyone else. That is one thing I would like for it to come. My brother actually used to not he used to have long hair. This is a little bit of an off track story. He used to have long hair, but he used to be made fun of because he had braids, saying he looked like a little girl, and he was so distraught by it, and he didn't like his braids, so he got a haircut, and that broke my heart. And I would never want to see any Indigenous child being, distraught of who they are, why they have long hair, what represents it, and yes, I would just love them to be happy with themselves. Plus, being a part of their culture and like a part of their culture, being able to speak their native tongue, being able to go to education and learn from the world. That is what I plan to for goals. So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Of course.
Daisy, I don't really have a question for you, but I just want to say thank you for your vulnerability and your openness. And, we all learn from our mistakes. And so it's okay to say, I've stumbled, I've had a fail, but I've learned from it and I've moved on. So um, it's just so enlightening to hear all of your passions and your goals and your dreams. And I just know that the May event will be fantastic just because of the energy that you bring with it. So keep on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cindy and Daisy, for sharing about all the great work that you're doing. We're going to hand it off to Diane to hear a bit more about the district level.
Okay, good afternoon. Diane Gardipy, Nitsi, Gaisun, Beardies and Okamasa Sochinia. Currently, I live in Red Deer, Alberta, and I work for the Red Deer Catholic Regional Schools. We have 22 schools in our division. Actually 23, we just opened a new one. See, Daisy? And so yeah, 23 schools within our division, and it's quite spread out. So not only do we serve schools within the city of Red Deer, but we have St. Dominic's, which is in the town of Rocky Mountain House. So it's about 100 kilometers away. We also have schools in Olds, Innisfail, Black Falls, Sylvan Lake. And so, so what we do for our division is, I've been with the division for about 5 years now, and we've been having student voice panels for Indigenous students to hear from them and what they need in their schools, what they are feeling in their schools, their sense of belonging, any support that they need. And so we've been listening to them and taking direction on kind of what next steps that we do as a team to serve our division. Within our team, there are 4 of us that work out of the central office and support the 23 schools. We have about 800 Indigenous students within our district. And, our first off, like just listening to Daisy, like, some of those things with the history, for myself, I came from my First Nations community into an urban center. And then just, how do we have a sense of identity for our First Nation Métis Inuit students? How do we have them know who they are within their own school? Because often what we heard from our student panel is, who are the Indigenous students in our school? We don't get together. We don't know who they are. And so, over the years, we've been doing cultural lunches for Indigenous students and bringing culture and activities that way to them. Whether it's like song, drums, rattles, whether it's cultural activities. So we were kind of doing natural supports through that area. And then we just thought this past year we went into bringing elementary with middle schools, because again, it's that disconnect. So our rural schools, they get bused into the city of Red Deer, and they're now into their feeder school. And so how would they get to know their Indigenous students, make friends, because they often felt alone and isolated within schools. So this past spring, we brought together grade 5 students with grade 7 students in middle school, and just introduced them. We brought them together to see Indigenous role models. So we brought Notorious Cree to our school division for powwow dancing. He plays the flute. So all these different cultural gifts that he carries, he was able to share with our students. We brought in an Indigenous chef, Shane Chartrand, and he got to show the kids how to cook on the land, and just use different elements, plants, in order for his cooking. And so they were excited about that. So not only did we bring grade 7s with our grade 5s with grade 7s, but we also brought grade 9s with grade 10, 11s. And so this, it was done over a few days out on the land. So it wasn't in schools, it was on the land, so that they also had the outdoor classroom and back to traditional ways of learning and being. We brought fun for them as well, to so that they could do some team building activities, like some Indigenous games. And so things like that we were doing to bring students together so that they can build their natural supports. And then, hearing what Daisy was doing out at Rocky Mountain House in St. Dominic, we really wanted to support her to know that she had the support, because at first, she didn't know who she could turn to, and to get that support and to help build what she visioned for her school community. And so we started there to support her and just help her know that she has support, and work with Cindy and the community there. So really it's important that as a school, that we just don't work within the school itself as natural supports, that we build with the community. And within Indigenous cultures, it's that community centeredness. So we bring in elders, and we connect students to the community. So our future goals that we're doing within this year is to be able to have students meet with elders and do more on the land mentoring. It's really that cultural mentorship, because where else are they going to learn it if we don't bring it to them? With school, it's all academic. And so, we have to be able to offer some mentoring and that's what we're doing right now, is working towards getting them high school credits so that they can take opportunities on the land to get mentorship, but also to get leadership and credits, or some sort of high school credits. We're working with the CTS program to get them high school credits. So bringing them, our parents and our students are a big voice in order for what they want to see within their schools. So we are working hard to bring that to them. And for the winter in January, we're looking at doing some ice fishing with some elders and getting some students on the land. Not only having the skills, for summer fishing, but ice fishing as well, and learning how to debone the fish and how to smoke the fish, and so really bringing those traditional skills and traditions and opportunities for them to engage in. And so just naturally they're going to have those supports while we do that, when we bring those opportunities. So just recently we had a land camp, which is still kind of like mentorship, but we had a land camp and for high school students, and we're doing some hunter certification with the land camp. And yeah, so we're planning all these wonderful events for them so that they could have these opportunities, because where else would they get the opportunities in order to learn their culture and to be on the land and to hear from elders and knowledge keepers and gain skills. So that's pretty much what our job is as the Indigenous Education Services team, is to support staff in the school like Cindy at St. Dominic and the different high schools and other schools that we work at to connect with Indigenous students, and we support them to bring their visions to get to life. So yeah, those are some of the things that we've done and some things that we're looking forward to. I know with St. Dominic in April and May, we're going to do about 5 days over about 5 weeks, some sessions out there, bring some elders. We're going to set up a TP. We're going to do some TP teachings, and yeah, just bring all those wonderful opportunities to the students so that they can learn together, share together, and make connections together, and then serve their community as leaders. So
I love all of these opportunities that you're helping facilitate, and kind of there's 23 schools, so you're helping different activities happen at each school, I imagine.
mm-hmm.
And then it's those moments for those natural supports, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
How has that journey been with trying to bring in CTS credits with the courses that they're doing?
Well, we currently are looking at like what programs are already offered through Alberta Education, and just going, if a school division has already wrote something that is being offered, then we don't have to rewrite anything. So that's amazing. We haven't had to rewrite anything, so we are yeah, it's looking pretty good to be able to do that right now with the land camps and with the mentorship.
AMP can support with that CTS credit piece, and so you could reach out to me and I could help if there was some challenges there. And Kim has lots of experience as well, supporting schools with navigating getting those CTS credits.
Ah, wonderful. I know Jonathan does a lot of that work for us right now, and he works with the department that does the CTS credits. So, but so far so good, and yeah, it's working out really well.
Diane, I worked with Jonathan for a portion of last year, so excited to hear about the land caps and how you brought your 5s and 7s and 9s, 10s, and 11s together, because that was just starting as a brainchild back then, and so I'm glad that it all worked out well. So AMP has worked with Alberta Education for 5 1-credit CTS courses, starting with an introduction to mentorship. And a lot of schools will package them together to get 5 credits, so that the students can just work through them. And then alongside that, AMP also has online mentor training. So it runs, and I'm just also thinking, Cindy, it might be something to have Daisy work through with some of the students to get them to understand what it's like to be a mentor, and you don't maybe have all the skills that she does, but you have some skills that are personal to you, that you could reach out to other students. So just finding the gem in each student, and that's what that online mentoring course is able to do. And then, yeah, reach out to Pamela, because I worked with Northland School Division last year, and we offered the online mentor training in a 1 day so that the kids could start to get credits. And they actually started with a group of grade 9 students, so that they would have credits going into the next year. So just some ideas.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
I wanted to open up if anyone else has questions for Diane about mentoring in Red Deer Catholic School District.
One of the other things I wanted to mention too is that when we do things, we also partner like with Indigenous STEM to bring the science aspect to it. So we bring in so that it connects to curriculum and kind of covers, you know, some of those admin questions and yeah, how we do those types of things. So
IndigiSTEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math.
yeah.
That sounds like a great connection.
Yeah.
Kim has shared in the chat, there's 2 great resources as well on Powwow 101 and Round Dance 101. If a school wanted to put those on for the first time, there's somewhere they can turn to. If there isn't any questions, anyone, I will bring up our wrap-up slide and wrap up the webinar for today. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay.
Thank you, Kim, for the resources.
You're welcome. If you need anything else in terms of resources, Pamela, Quentin, and Courtney and the AMP website has a lot of great information, and they can help walk you through some of those pieces.
Thank you.
So if you want to keep up with everything we're doing at AMP, feel free to follow us on social media and also subscribe to our newsletter. Our newsletter comes out bi-weekly and contains highlight of great resources, community events, and other news. Once again, thank you so much to Cindy, Daisy, and Diane for this incredible conversation today. We hope that you are all walking away with some great new information and strategies on teen mentoring in schools and bringing in that Indigenous cultural component in your schools and celebrating Indigenous culture. We'll stick around for a few minutes in case anyone has any other lingering questions. Otherwise, thank you so much.